Lib Future TV, giving voice to progressive Liberians, speaking about politics, entertainment, and local news.
From what the police is saying.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Good afternoon to our listening audience and our viewers on Facebook and on the radio. We want to welcome you to the show this evening. We're going to be having a special guest with us today, and his name is Dr. Fidel Buri out of Great Britain. We're going to be joining us from London today. He has written a very brilliant article, and we're going to be dissecting that article today. But in the meantime, I just want you to kind of introduce yourself, our panelists, and Jefferson, we want to start with you first in studio and the rest of the other panelists.
So let me say good evening to Liberians back home and good afternoon to you there in the US, and Siliki, good evening to you as well. My name is Jefferson. We are here in studio at Care Radio producing this show tonight.
Siliki?
Yeah, greetings everyone. Again, I'm Siliki Komai. Good to be here. I'm joining you from Kigali, East Africa, Rwanda. I'll be here every Monday, but just stepping in today to help my brother Anthony do this interview with Dr. Fidel, right?
Dr. Buri, your first name is Fidel, yes.
Okay, yeah, Dr. Fidel. So looking forward to a great conversation. So yeah, thank you and welcome to everyone following us on Facebook and on the radio. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's Catherine Gibson again. I hope you all are doing well out there hustling today in Liberia.
All right, I cannot. Oh, is that Loretta? Yeah, I'm not seeing the name clear from here.
My name is Lavetta Davis from
Can you kind of introduce
Liberia.
yourself to the audience, please?
Yeah, let me say good evening to the amazing audience around.
We
My
are
name is
having trouble with your audio. Can you do some adjustment there, please? We are unable to hear you.
Are you getting me now?
Yes, I can hear her.
You can hear her?
Yes.
Sidiki, are you hearing her? Can everybody else hear her? That might be my
I'm getting about network.
right back.
Yeah, our network is breaking in. I think so.
My name is Lavetta Davis.
But I'm not even hearing her breaking in. That's the problem. You're hearing her now, right?
No, for me, I'm getting her.
I'm getting her,
yes.
and I'm not hearing her. That's gotta be my issue. I gotta exit and come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lavetta.
So let me say good evening to the amazing viewers watching this evening. My name is Lavetta Davis, and I'm so excited to be here with you.
Thank you, Lavetta. So tell us what's going on in Liberia. What's the latest trending news?
All right, so let me draw you through with today's trending news update. A breakfast meeting. Am I live? Are you guys hearing me?
Yes.
A breakfast meeting with U.S. Charge the Affairs and the NC. Today, a delegation from the Alternative National Congress met with the U.S. Charge the Affairs Ambassador Joseph Zagtronin at his residence near Monrovia. They discussed critical issues affecting Liberia, with the delegation looking forward to continue engagement. Thanks, Mr. Alexander Cummings, Senate Bureau, National Chairman, Councilor Horatio Gould, and National Councilor Moriah Yekula Kopos. NP donates to Islamic centers, the Alternative National Congress, NC Charity Committee, has lended over 60 bags of rice and 60,000 Liberian dollars to Islamic worship centers in Monterrey County. The donation made to mosques in districts 15, 16, and 17 for each district receiving 20 bags of rice and 20,000 Liberian dollars. Representatives of the benefiting mosques praised Alexander Cummings, describing the donation as a timely gesture during the holy month of Ramadan. Supreme Court holds capital arson trial. The Liberian Supreme Court has stopped the Capitol building arson case, citing George Roosevelt willing to a March 5 conference effective immediately. Student group slams Bouaka government. The University of Liberia's Vanguard Student Unification Party, for short SUP, has blasted President Bouaka administration, saying it's failing to deliver on rescue mission promises. SUP calls Bouaka a dishonest preacher and warns of a potential one-term presidency over U.S. decline. Funeral home CEO arrest order. Morovia City Court orders arrest of St. Moses Funeral Parlors over alleged unlawful exhumation and conspiracy in high-profile case. And away from Liberia, Ghana police arrest suspect in Liberian's death. Ghana's Accra Regional Police have arrested 3 suspects: Vincent Francis Amusu and William Anderson, in connection with the death of a 26-year-old Liberian national, Austin Timber, who was mobbed at an apartment complex in Lashibi near Sako Mono on February 27, 2026. A fourth suspect, Enoch Menza, is still at large, with police intensifying efforts to apprehend him. Those were the latest updates from Liberia.
Thank you, Lavetta. Thank you so much. Anthony, can you hear her now? Were you able to hear her? You're on mute.
Unfortunately, no, I can't hear her. I hear everybody else except her. And when I came on, when I was in the back, I could hear her clearly. By the time I got, admitted to the show, the audio went away.
Okay. Well, she talked about the news, and she talked about the ANC donations.
Correct. I heard that part.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a fantastic work. Identifying with people doing this Ramadan time. This is not new to Mr. Cummings anyway. This is something he has done over the years. He has done these things according to one of the recipient, mentioned in one of the videos that yes, Mr. Cummings has always identified with this group during the time of Ramadan. So, that is a good thing to do. Mr. Cummings is just this kind of person who doesn't like to brag about what he does. He has done so much thing for Liberia and for Liberians at large. So,
yeah.
Congratulations again to him, and of his goodwill, a kind gesture was welcome.
And she also mentioned that he had gone to see the U.S. Embassy charge their
The
affair.
charge d'affaires. That's a
You know
French
how to
word.
say that
We
name.
speak French, so we can say that word. Charge d'affaires.
I know I was going to mess that up.
That word is a French word, charge d'affaires.
But
yeah.
Mr. Cummings knows a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And those relationships are so important, because that man represents a $30 trillion economy.
Yep.
And just imagine, Mr. Cummings knows not only him, but people all over the world. So that was a good meeting for us, a good meeting for Liberia. Do you have any questions before we let Lavetta go?
No, I think I'm happy with the news. This is a good thing, in this time of, prayer time and, identifying with people. People found challenges, coming up with these things. So the amount of good donation that he does and they are not being, talked about That is the reason why I'm glad these things have been shared now, so people can see, hear about it, know about them, so they can start asking the question, what have you done? What have you done? Mr. Comey has done a whole lot. But I think is keeping upon us to talk about it more and more often, and so people can know about them, because Mr. Comey is not the kind of person who want to be flamboyant out there, bragging about what he does for people.
Thank
But
you,
unfortunately,
Lavetta.
because of
Let's
politics,
let
we have to do
Lavetta
this.
go. Lavetta, thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Let me say thanks so much for having me.
Thank you,
Thank
Lavetta.
you.
While we are waiting on our guest, we're going to give you a gist about, just to tease your appetite in the meantime, just to tell you about what he's going to be talking about. We all know the Liberian legislature. We all know about,
Oh,
how...
Anthony, I just had a few more things to mention.
Oh, okay. If you go ahead.
This is the Cummings Girls Brigade. Did you notice that they started activities? They've been out, they've been meeting. They started their Facebook page. So go follow them. They're on their Facebook page singing songs, very beautiful girls.
And their name is Cummings Brigade.
Cummings Girls Brigade.
Okay.
Yep. So they've been active. They started their page, so follow their page. They have a cute video on there singing, and so they've been working hard. And yesterday, Alio Kiadi, do you know who he is?
Absolutely. The youth chair.
Yes, he did an interview on Voice of Liberia, but it was on the same day as Mr. Cummings' interview. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if
Do you have an excerpt of that?
No, I haven't watched it yet, because I was watching Mr. Cummings' interview, but I'm going to go back and listen to his interview. It was on Voice of Liberia.
Okay.
Yeah. So the youth have been busy, active, and, doing things.
That is absolutely good for us and for the people who want to know more about ANC and who want to join. ANC is open to everybody, regardless of your religion, of your political, belief, or if you're not even into politics, it doesn't matter. As long as you are Liberian or resident of Liberia, live in Liberia, and have residency of Liberia and want to affiliate with the ANC, you are welcome to the ANC. Everyone is welcome. And so thanks for the update. That's a very good thing. I didn't know about this new group called the Cummings Brigade. Definitely, I will follow them, and follow their activities. That is a very good thing.
Yeah, the Cummings Girls Brigade.
Yep. So the Cummings Girl Brigade, that is a good thing. Thanks for this update. I really appreciate it. Sidiki, do you have anything to say?
Not really, but just to say a thank you to Aliu. Aliu is.
I'm not hearing you, Sidiki. And there's something wrong with my set.
You can't hear Saliki? I can hear him.
All right, I gotta exit and come back one more time. What's going on with my set today?
Yeah, again, just to say thank you to Aliu. Aliu is doing a great job in Liberia, especially with the Youth Congress. And also do you know that they've put together a monthly press conference at the end of every month? The Youth Congress, they usually do, and that conference is more like the state of the youth report, where they talk about the national, things that happen, what the government, different activities, identifying key issues where the government, some of the things they do correctly, give them credit for that, and where recommendations are needed. So they've done a great job. Even last weekend, they had a press conference at the party headquarters, and then Obadiah was presiding over that, and so Ali is doing a great job. And with this new group coming up, the Girls Brigade, is also a great, team. I'm sure when these people, all of them get in the field, we're going to see something different happening and where they can talk, because it's kind of more relatable that young folks like Aliu and the girls that you just displayed, when they go to the community, talk to their friends, they can relate to them more than
I can hear you
people
now.
personally. But it's a great initiative, and thanks for showing that to us too. But thanks to Aliu. Aliu is doing a great job.
Yeah, I can hear you now, Sidiki. That's good.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Catherine, can you say something in here?
Yes, can you hear
Okay,
me?
good. I can hear you too. So
Okay,
I don't
good.
know what was happening. I had to exit and come back, and everything is clear now. So
Oh, good.
unfortunately, that's the situation. While we wait on Dr. Booty to join us on the
Dr.
show,
Booty's in the back.
oh, you already in the back?
Yes.
Okay, you can let us know if you're ready for us, and we can bring you on because we are set and ready to go. And hopefully, there you go. My co-panelists, I can say, because we are panelists on the on point on focus on Liberia every Sunday. Lately, I haven't been appearing because I've been working on Sundays. So yeah. But welcome to the show, and I'm glad you took the time to drop this article, very brilliant article, and we want to welcome you to this platform. And also, want to give you the opportunity, 2 minutes, introduce yourself to the audience, and let us know what drove you to have drafted such a profound article.
Well, thank you, Anthony. Nice to see you again. Thank you, Catherine and Siliki, for inviting me here. It's always a pleasure talking about Liberia. Anyone who has an interest in seeing our country do better will love the opportunity to share whatever good ideas that you think you might have. So I, strangely enough, started commentating on Liberian politics back in 2017. So at the time, Mr. Cummings, the late Mr. Bromstein, President Boakai, who was vice president at the time, and I think Mr. Yuri took a case to the Supreme Court because they felt that the CDC had done some things they shouldn't have done in the election, and they wanted it to, the Supreme Court to step in and basically ask for the election to be rerun. That was the first time. I thought it was good. I thought the fact that they didn't resort to what Liberian politicians normally resort to, which is violence, and they decided to use the legal route to seek the remedies that were required, even though the outcome was not what we wanted. And President Weah was allowed to run in the second round and win. But that was the first time I thought, okay, if this is how Liberian politicians are going to act, then it makes sense to start to engage more with the people. In terms of the and I will talk about myself in 10 seconds. But in terms of the article itself, all of us Liberians here in the diaspora and back home were surprised to see how grown individuals, men and women that we elected as our direct representatives, acted towards the end of 2024, when you had a group of Liberian lawmakers refusing to go to work, meeting in a hotel, whilst the Liberian people were paying their salaries, right? So basically, it's like me telling my boss I'm not coming to work, even though my salary is being paid every month, right? And that was not right, and that is where the idea of, okay, look, we need to say something about this because this is getting appalling. And you could see very clearly that the reasons, or one of the reasons why these guys were acting the way they were, was because of the finances. Obviously, we will talk later on, and I'll mention some of the figures. But because of the amount of money that is going around in the national legislature, most people who get elected have been, they put themselves forward just because of how much money they believe they can make from being a member of the House of Representatives or the Senate. So that's the kind of background to why the article was written in terms of my thinking. As for me,
when was that, Dr. Booty? When was that? When they were in the hotel? Was
it was 2024, I think around August, September, October 2024.
Oh, is that when they were having the speaker?
Yeah,
okay.
Was when they had the speaker debacle in Liberia. Yes,
Okay.
The article itself was written in July last year, so I took my time to think about it and do some research to make sure that whatever I communicated kind of captured what I wanted the Liberians to capture in my speech.
Well, I read the article. It was very interesting. And then it said, I'm going to do part 2. And I started to look for the part 2. And that's when I reached out to you and I said, can you do your part 2 on the show? But, you can just tell us a little bit about reforming the legislature and what your idea overall was about that, and your background as well.
Yeah, so I'm a Liberian. I'm based in the UK. I know most times when you speak to Liberians and you mention the UK, they all say London, right? I do not live in London.
Mm-hmm.
I live in a city called Sheffield, which is about 3 hours away from London.
Okay.
And I did a PhD on the Liberian land rights law uh, between 2017 and 2021. So I got my PhD in 2021. And I focused
And
mostly
that's on
on
land rights?
understanding land rights, yeah, in Liberia,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
I
Very
did
good.
a kind of historic analysis, but also coupled that with ethnographic research. So I was in Senja district in Bomi County. So I used the Sami Dabi land concession as my case study. And I spent a couple of months in Liberia living amongst the people and trying to understand more in terms of political reactions from below. So how were ordinary citizens in that district reacting to the fact that land that they had used for so many years was just taken from beneath their feet and given to someone else, and overnight they became strangers in their own district. And it was very fascinating. I had a very good time. And whenever I'm in Liberia, I try and go back and see some of the participants in my research. And yeah, so I was able to publish a few articles. I think about 3 journal articles from my research over the years. And yeah, so at the moment, I work for a mental health charity in the UK, and I commentate, as Mr. Gay mentioned, on Liberian politics, right? So anything to do with Liberia, anything that has the propensity of shifting our mindset and the way that we do things, I'm in it, right? So I wouldn't tie myself down to one area as it relates to Liberia. So I think the second part of your question was kind of background, right, in terms of reform in the legislature. Now, having identified from what was going on in 2024 and identified that these guys were squabbling because of money. Everybody wanted to be speaker because of the extra perks that comes with the office. Everybody wants to go into the House of Representatives or the Senate because of the money. So, for example, members of the House get $8,000 US dollars in salary, and about 2,000 something in petrol allowances. So that's about $10,000 a month. That's 120,000 a year. Now Liberia, I was checking today, is the 171st poorest country richest country in the world. So in terms of the rich list, Liberia is 171. The United Kingdom, where I live, is 6th on that list, right? And our lawmakers make 125,000 US dollars a year. So you've got the
So,
6th
wow.
richest country paying $5,000 a year more than the 171st richest country in the world, and that is unacceptable, right?
No.
That is not how things should be. But I'll just give you a quick story. So in 2010, we had this MP expenses crisis here in the UK. So what had happened? So corruption is just not confined to Liberia. So let's get that out of the way. A lot of our MPs were claiming expenses that they were not entitled to, right? So they were putting in expenses claims that someone claimed for their dock house, or in Liberia we call it DOFA. They can claim for their dock house on their little pond. Some of them claimed for apartments that they were not staying in. And there was an explosive investigation that I think 4 MPs were charged criminally for that. And that was when David Cameron was prime minister at the time, and the parliament introduced the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority. Right. So the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, its job basically is to set salaries of MPs. Right. And that I'm kind of going into my giving you the background of my part 2. Right. So the proposal I was going to make. So when I was thinking about what was happening in Liberia and knowing that these guys are all about money, my thing is, okay, how do we get money out of this, right? How do we take money away so that we make it less attractive financially? So people are not going in there simply because they know they're going to collect $10,000.
$120,000 a year
Yeah,
is what
and
the lawmakers make
that's
each.
excluding the travel and goods, right? There's something else in the budget called travel and
Wow.
goods, right?
And how many
Uh,
of them are there?
well, there are 73, and I'll come to that in my brief
Okay.
form. But there are 73 members of the House of Representatives, and let me just clarify. That's where I'm going to focus. I will talk about the Senate a little bit, but my
Oh,
focus is on
okay.
the House of Representatives, right?
Okay.
Because there are 73 of them, right? But anyway, going back to the background I was trying to provide, it is that idea of having an independent body that is exclusive to the government of Liberia, right? Making decisions on how much money members of the legislature should make is where I'm trying to push my argument. That look, if we
Okay.
take the power away from, because again, you can't say to me, Fidel Budi, I'm going to make you director of this company, but you set your own salary, right? Trust me, I will be tempted to set very, very high salaries for myself, right? So it's
Right.
human nature. But if we take that away from the national legislature and give it to an independent authority, they can then set your salaries. Now, in the UK, the salaries are set in terms of increment based on what we call cost of living. Right? So the Office of Budget Responsibility and the Office of National Statistics do this annual report to say, okay, look, we believe that cost of living has gone up by 3%, right? So all of us, well, I'm not saying all of them, most people who work in the UK will get that 3% increase in their salary to kind of meet up with cost of living. So members of parliament get the same. So that's how their salaries are. So the decision to increase their salaries is based on data, evidence collected from bodies that do economic modeling and say, look, the economy has grown to an extent, cost of living has gone up, and we believe that this is the percentage at which it's gone up, and that is the percentage increase that they will have, which is acceptable, right?
Right.
Because again, if the cost of something is gone up by 3%, it's only fair that people's salaries should go up by 3%.
So in Liberia, we don't have anybody to help set the salary. It's set by the lawmakers themselves.
At this moment in time, that's the process that we have. That the members of the national legislature set their own salaries and benefits. All right, so they determine how much money they make in terms of salaries and how much money they make in terms of allowances that they get. And my argument is, and that is where my part 2 of the article is saying, look, let's create a body that is independent of the government, and that body can then determine how much, because again, the body technically does not have a stake in how much MPs make, that members of the legislature make. So they believe, or the hope is that they will make the best decision based on the data, right? Based on, for example, we can look at what is the average salary in Liberia, and then say, okay, we'll augment whatever they make by 10% above the average salary, right? I'm just, yeah, I know it
So the
sounds,
average salary in
but
Liberia,
that's my,
the civil servants don't
or the
even.
median salary, right? I don't know what the average salary is, or the median salary, right? So whatever the middle is, that so the highest and the lowest, and then somewhere in the middle. I don't know, but I think
Right.
what they're making now is too much compared to what we can afford as a country. Because I was looking at the budget, the 2026 budget, 51.7 million is going to go to the national legislature alone, right? You're talking about 103 individuals, right? 30 senators, 73 representatives. 103 people are taking 51.7 million from our budget,
Wow.
right?
That's what
That is
Mr.
not,
Cummings said
that
yesterday,
is not
50
right.
million. But you're saying
Yeah,
57 million.
51.7. No,
51.7.
51.7. So he's right.
Oh,
It's about 50 million. Yeah, about 50 million.
51.7 million. So because they also have to, they buy them cars too every few years.
I think I've heard that every 3 years they get a new car, and then they get extra perks for whatever it is they get money for. But in terms of the total, that is what the national budget has in it in 2026, just for that for 103 people, right? 103 Liberians will take home or will spend $51.7 million US dollars of our national budget.
Saliki, you want to come in?
Yeah, sure. Again, welcome, Dada Body. Welcome to the Lib Future TV. I did read your article before the show could kick off, and I must say you share most of what many Liberians been sharing. You know, my favorite line is when you spoke about the unification day, and instead of the president taking a practical stand to unify the country, he decided to send I don't know, politically motivated text messages to opposition leaders. And they went ahead and published that on Facebook that President Barker reached out to the president. So if this was actually a good intent, why they had to make it all a whole news, everybody posting about it and all of that. But you also mentioned about making the legislature less financially attractive. So at this point, what practical step you think we can take, to because many people in Liberia we kind of identify the problems, which all of us know, but what practical, especially, and I agree with you, when you make that place less attractive financially, you only get people who really want to serve stepping up to say they want to be lawmakers. So, what practical step you think we can take now to make that place less financially attractive, so that people don't go there for the $45,000 car, the gasoline, sleep, and all of that?
Well, I think, thank you. That's a really good question. Thank you so much. I think, first of all, I mentioned setting up an authority that is outside of the legislature to manage in terms of setting how much money each of them will be getting as a salary, what they can claim in expenses for traveling to their district or having an office in their district, for example, or having staff in that office. Uh, the biggest problem, and obviously, I think having a background in academia, one of the things that we try and do is when we propose theories, you try and critique your own theory to identify where the limitations in that theory lie. And for this, the unfortunate situation we have is it's not going to be something that will be done easily. It's something that will take a lot of political will. It will require, I think, a very authoritative, not authoritarian, but authoritative president. So a president that can basically say to the legislature that, look, I'm going to ask you to do this, and if you don't do it, I'm not going to sign the budget, right? So if you do not, so for example, if you have, I'm just going to throw a name out there. I'm not affiliated with any political party in Liberia, but let's say an Alex Cummings became president of Liberia, and then say to the legislature, look, we need to set up an independent legislative standards authority that will set salaries based on the context of Liberia, right? We're not just setting it because you think that's how much you should get. We're setting it based on our context. What can we afford as a country? And if you don't put that in, or if you don't pass that in the bill, into law, then I'm not going to sign the budget. Now, what that does is it can be risky, and it can backfire in a way that they might. Again, I'm not 100% sure about this, and I think maybe Catherine, who's a lawyer, might be able to help on that front. I don't know what, because I know for certain laws, you have this veto power, right? Where if 2/3 majority of both houses vote for it, it overrides the president's veto, right? I don't know whether that applies for the budget. So maybe if it does, the 103 people can just vote and then it becomes law, and the president has to implement that law. Having said that, again, this is a theory that's in development, but you have the Liberian people, right? So for civil society groups, for political leaders in Liberia who understand that the legislature is a major problem for our country, right? These individuals are supposed to be making laws to govern our country, but they are the ones breaking the law. So for example, the removal of quote unquote profile. was not done lawfully. The Supreme Court came out and said, look, this is not lawful. And even the president himself endorsed it, lawlessness, right? So at the end of the day, you need Liberians to stand up, right? We need to campaign for something like this because we can see, again, the more we flesh it out, that having someone outside of the legislature set salaries for them will definitely take away the ability for them to overpay themselves, right? Because now you have an independent body that say, look, this is how much you're going to get paid. That's what's going to go into the budget. You don't have a choice to say, oh no, we won't. No, no, no. It's out of your hands. Like here in the UK, members of parliament don't even come close to the authority sets the salary and that becomes law. It goes in and the vote in and that's it. So again, it will take political will from political leaders, but the Liberian people, we need to be able to convince them that this is in their best interest, and then they need to rally around us to kind of push this and say, look to their legislature, look, we're going to sit in for as many days as it'll take until you can pass this into law that we will take that power away from you because then we can reduce all of those extra perks that they're getting. And like you said, Vicky, people that then put their names forward are people who are already made financially and they're only going in there because if you're paying them 2,500 US dollars, for example, they will just use that to maybe cover low transportation here and there because they don't need the money. They're going in there because they want to make the right laws to protect their people and to see the country develop.
So again, the suggestion you kind of proposing, I don't know if that is practical too, because if the executive come up and say to the legislature that if you don't reduce your benefit and the salary, I'm not going to sign a budget. But the executive themselves did not reduce the executive budget. So the lawmakers themselves, because that's one of the key problems, and that's why uh, we continue to kind of send a message to the Liberian people that we need a president from day one. For example, Mr. Cummings, he's always committing from 2017 to now that if I win, whatever the salary is for the president, I don't want it. We can pull it into institution like the LACC to fight corruption. So obviously, the budget for the executive mansion or the executive will come down. So when you bring your budget down, you propose to the legislature to kind of consider some of the benefits and salary. They can take that into consideration. But now where the president or the executive budget is up and you proposing to other people to bring that benefit down, that doesn't sound realistic actually. So I don't know if the proposal you are sharing, starting from the executive, coming to the legislature, or yes, I want to agree with you that bulk of our problem is from the legislature, but also the executive can initiate and the legislature they can follow. For me, that's basically what I wanted to share. But my next question, you know, has to do with you you spoke about the legislature being reformed. How would that reform impact other branches like the executive and the judiciary? Reforming the legislature, how would that impact other branches of government, the executive and the justice system?
Okay, thank you, Saliki. I think, and I agree with you 100%. I think, and when I used the phrase authoritative president, that was where I was going. That it has to come from the president, right? Because in Liberia, unfortunately, the president is the single most powerful person, right? And most times, what the president says tend to go. So if that kind proposal comes from the office of the president, the expectation will be that people will listen. And like you said, there's nothing that says that this cannot originate in the executive branch, right? I still think we need it will take the legislature. But if the president came to power, so for example, George Weah tried this, but he went and messed it up like big time with the harmonization idea that he came up with. What I would have done is basically trim the top, right? Because the people at the bottom are not earning enough money. So I don't know what you want to harmonize down there. The people at the top are the ones that are collecting all the extra gas slaves and making $7,800 a month and things like that. So that's where you cut the waste from. Because again, if you want to serve your country, which is what Liberians should be wanting to do when they go into public office, then it should not be about the money. So if you want to be a minister and they say, and again, I'm just putting a number out there. This is not something that I've thought out. But if you say 4,000 or 5,000 a month, and then cut off all the extra benefits that come with that, then that saves the government a lot of money. And that example can then be taken to say to the legislature, look, you have to follow suit because we have done this in the executive branch. So I agree with you 100%. In terms of how reforming the legislature will impact other branches of government, the way our constitution is set up, the legislature is the first branch of government. The legislature holds the power of the purse. The legislature makes laws that are supposed to make laws that are supposed to govern the rest of the country, including the executive and the judiciary. And on top of that, the legislature is supposed to have oversight over both of these branches of government. I believe, and this is again based on my own personal research, that if we make the legislature less financially attractive, and as you agree with me, Siliki, get more people in there who are there for service to country and not for personal gain, those individuals will then execute, hopefully, the mandate of the legislature, which will be, for example, when the president's taking all of these extra trips, call him to say, oh, Mr. President, yes, okay, you took 3 trips there, you spent like 4 million. Can you come and let us know what was the benefit of those trips, right? Why are you spending 4 million on the Liberian people money and we're not seeing anything coming back in? But these guys cannot do that because at the end of the day, they're squabbling all the time about how much money they can get to put in their own pockets, right? They don't even understand what it means to be a legislator, right? So it's difficult as it is for them to be able to do their job. But I believe if we reform the legislature, and some of the reforms I'll talk about later on, I think it will be more effective, right? And it will then give individuals who have the right mindset of a legislator to come into the legislature. That's the hope. Again, all these things are theoretical, all right? Putting them in practice can be completely different, and we accept that. But I believe it means that the right people go in there, they can have that oversight responsibility and put it into place and work to make sure that the other 2 branches are functioning as they should.
So,
Thank you.
so I'm gonna play devil's advocate because that's what we do.
That's good.
You know, one of the representatives said that, and a lot of them say this, that our constituents, the people in our district, they come to us for everything, for school fee, for car pay, for medicine, doctor, everything. And then on the other hand, you have this unemployment problem in the country where Mr. Cummings was talking about yesterday, how to bring jobs. Do you think that if, we had someone like Mr. Cummings to bring jobs in the country, people would have more money to spend for their own, their own lives, that maybe that will also help the legislature to agree to reduce their salary? Because right now they say, I need the salary because I have to help the people in my district. And then I think Senator Dillon had introduced a bill to reduce salaries at one point. He said it went nowhere. So what are your thoughts on all of that?
All right, so let me deal with this Senator Dillon thing first, and I'm not ashamed to keep talking about this because I've talked about it a couple of times already. Senator Dillon is not serious, right? I'll be honest with you, because when I heard, no, it's not serious, and I'll tell you why. When I first heard that he was making a proposal like that was in September 2024, I traveled to Liberia. I went to meet him and basically the reason I wanted to meet with him was, look, I did not believe or do not believe that the members of the legislature will reform themselves, right? I don't believe that the bill will pass. What I wanted to do was gather or harness a lot of diaspora Liberian support behind it so that it's amplified to a point where it becomes a conversation right? So even though we know that they will not vote for it, but let's make enough noise about it that the rest of the Liberian people start to hear it and think, oh, wait a minute, this is something that we might want to do. I went to that man's office and made an appointment to see him. He asked me to come back the next day. I was sat there. I think the appointment was for 10 o'clock. And I sat there for 2 hours waiting to see the senator. I'm sitting there. He gave me the appointment. I didn't make my own appointment. He told me come at 10 o'clock. I sat there from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. He came in around 12:30, I think it was. And I said, okay, look, let me just get 5 minutes to put my proposal to you. Oh, no, he didn't have the time and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you asked me to come here, right? This is because if I'm passionate about something, I'm willing to listen to anyone who has an idea on that thing. If you asked me to turn up at 10 o'clock, and I do, and you had me waiting, I was patient enough to wait for 2 hours and a bit. You can't tell me you can't spare 5 minutes, right? To just hear me out. And I'm like, I left the place thinking to myself, okay, so that's what it is. So no, so he's not serious, because if he was, he will be trying to get. This is all about show, and trying to show the librarian that he is doing something, but he isn't. So no, but let's come to the question that you asked about job creation, and tie into that the fact that representatives are saying, oh, people are begging and things like that. So let me deal with what they're saying first, and I'll put it out this way. So we have Anthony, we have Jeffrey, we have Siliki, and we have you, Catherine, and myself. There are 5 of us on here. So let's say this show is a community, and we get 10,000 every month, right? Now, if you, Catherine, collect 8,000 out of that 10, and the rest of us have to manage on 2,000, right? Now, our 500 will run out quicker than your 8,000. That's practical, isn't it? Right? My 500, Siliki's 500 will run out way quicker than your $8,000. So where are we supposed to go and ask for help when we know you have 8,000 and our 500 is run out?
Right.
But imagine the 10,000 was spread out 2,000 each. If each of us walked away with $2,000 each, now I can't come to you in Liberia. We say I can't get that kind of dry face to can't ask you for money when I got the same 2,000 that you got. Right? We all got equal. I can't come to you and say, oh, no, give me money when I know you don't have the money, because we all had the same. If I've spent mine, the expectation would be that you've spent yours as well. Right? At the end of the day, these individuals, if you look at someone who represents a district in Riverside County, so we were having a conversation the other time on a talk show about young girls in Riverside County who were not in school. There are a lot of difficult things that are happening to these young girls, right? And I sat there and thought to myself, imagine if someone said to me, Fidel, I'm going to take the representative of that district. I'm going to give him 2,000 a month from the 10,000 that he collects, and we'll give you the 8,000 every month to run some projects in that district that will create opportunities for young people, right? You can't tell me that we can't use materials to get benches and erect schools for those people to be in class instead of in the street. You can't tell me we won't be able to build a couple of clinics in 6 months' time. We're using local materials like we call it dirt blocks and tash trees and whatever they call them. You can't tell me that it's not possible. You cannot tell me that we wouldn't be able to put a cooperative of farmers together, provide them with seeds, provide them with equipment, like local equipment, like manual equipment like hoes and cutlasses and whatever, to make farms that can produce enough food for them to eat and maybe sell some of them. You can't tell me that we can't be able to buy a few goats, right, and some sheep and put it there and let them rear these animals so that they produce enough to be able. You can't tell me that's not possible with $8,000 in one district every month for a whole year. In a year's time, the impact in that district will be so significant. People will. I can guarantee. I go to Liberia a lot, right? People in Liberia, even the poorest people in Liberia, want to live in dignity. They don't like going and begging people for money. They don't enjoy it.
That's
No
true.
Liberian enjoys going to beg for money. They do it because that's about survival, right? If you give them the opportunity by not hauling all of the money to yourself, right? If you gave them the opportunity by investing that money in the communities, in your district, I can guarantee you that notion that, oh, people are coming to beg us for money, it goes out of the window because nobody wants to beg. There is no human being that I've met that just wants to go around begging for things. everybody wants to have that dignity. Like President Salid used to say, Papa, when Papa coming home, Papa won't be coming with plastic bag. Every Papa won't come with plastic bag. But if the representatives and the senators are taking all of the resources and paying themselves, then there's nothing left to create the opportunities for jobs in Liberia. Now, if we come to what Mr. Cummings said yesterday about creating jobs, this same legislature makes it difficult for companies to come and invest in our country. Because when these individuals come to invest, everybody, they finish collecting their 10,000 every month, they want brown envelope. So someone comes to Liberia with $20 million to invest. If 2 million of that goes to just bribing members of the legislature to do their job, right? Their job is to review the concession, see how it's going to benefit the people, make sure there are stipulations in there for paying the right amount of tax, employing the right amount of Liberian people, going into the right district that needs the job. That's their job. We already pay you 10,000 a month to do that job, right? But then you then harass these companies for extra money. How are these companies going to want to come and do business in our country? And not only that, but how would they not abuse the systems of laws that we have? Because they know that I already bribed the member of the legislature. He or she cannot come and tell me that I have to obey the rules when you've taken bribe from me already. So companies do whatever they want to do. They import their own people. So that's why you have a lot of expats working in Liberia or in jobs that Liberians should be doing by now, because there is no oversight. And going back to Siliki's question, there's no oversight. And I believe that it's all about getting the right people in there, which is why it comes back, because the legislature has they are the direct representatives of the Liberian people. They're supposed to be seeking. Look, in the UK, my MP, my member of parliament, doesn't live too far from where I live. She has an office in the district. If I want to see Louise, I call her office, make an appointment. When she's home in the district, I go to her office and see her. I've had issues. I can give you a practical example. My youngest daughter was born in Liberia, right? And she needed her passport to be able to come back to the UK. And the home office was dragging their feet. I pick up the phone and call my MP. I said, Louise, yes, can you call the home office and tell them, let them take their finger from wherever their finger is? The next day, the home office was on the phone to me. Oh, yes, this, boom, everything sorted. That is what a member of parliament is supposed to be doing. That is what members of the legislature should be doing. You should go back to your district, listen to their problems, and then bring those problems to the legislature and create laws to solve those issues. But no, everybody won't be speaker. They're wearing yellow jacket and all around the place and stuff. It's so comical and so frustrating. Sometimes, I ain't got hair, but if I had hair, then I'll start probably pulling my hair out, because these guys think that it's evil. It can.
Yeah.
They say in Liberia, they think it can seriously hurt. But anyone who loves Liberia, it's not, you can't look at what is going on. And even if Mr. Cummings becomes president, with all of the good ideas that he has, if we have the same legislature that we have now, it becomes a difficult problem, because these guys will continue to seek their own interests and try to bring the rest of us down.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Can I come in?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So again, I want to bring us back a little bit about the crisis all of us witnessed 2024 at with the speakership removal. So personally for you, Dr. Bode, so I want to know, how did you feel when the president of the country, when you are elected, you take an oath. That means you swearing to uphold the constitution, not to do anything that contradicts what the constitution says. But when the Supreme Court, who is the highest, court in the country, ruled in favor of the minority bloc in that impasse, and the next day the president, spoke. I think 24 hours for the 8 hours. The president spoke, openly that he's going to take side with the majority bloc, so-called quorum, in order to move his court. Personally, for you, what was that for you? Because I saw that also in your article, but for the common Liberians, and I like the fact that you did mention in your article that we are quick to forget about things. The speakership stuff happened. Funati resigned. They put pressure behind him to resign. We had a speaker now called Rachel Kuhn, and that is it. People move on, but nobody care to look at that aspect where the president of the country, can come up publicly and say something that contradicts what the Supreme Court ruling, gave at that time. What is your, how did you feel when you witnessed that? Because I also saw that in the article.
Right. So let me just say that the editors at the Liberian Investigator are very very good, right? Because some of the language that I used in my original article, I think if the Liberian people had heard it, I'll probably be with Prophet Key in South Beach right now because I was angry, right? And I don't know Funati Kofa, never met him before. I don't really care about the man, but for me, I care a lot about the rule of law. And the reason you care about the rule of law is because I'm an ordinary Liberian, right? I don't have the political clout that some of these guys have. I go to Liberia regularly. I want to know that when I go to the Supreme Court or to any court in Liberia, that I will be treated fairly. And when you see people abusing the laws as they did, and trying to make things work the way they want it to work for their own benefit, it's painful for any human being, And I was really, really angry. And the initial draft of that article was so harsh that the editors had to say, "Look, we need to tone it down a little bit." And thankfully, I'm thankful that they did, because at the end of the day, I think the communication now is better than it was with the anger that I had. I think the president has made it very clear that he doesn't care about the Liberian people, and I've said this to anyone who's willing to listen. I believe this president was very selfish in deciding to run to be president of Liberia in 2023. I do not believe he has the stamina to run this country. I believe the young guys and ladies around him are running rings around this president. I believe that a lot of things go on that he doesn't have a clue has happened. And that is all to the detriment of the Liberian people, right? I do not believe that the speech that was written, as was given, was written by the president himself. I think some of his cronies who were benefiting from the lawlessness in our country wrote that because for them they
You
believe that
referring
they
to
could do it.
the Sona speech?
No. The speech that he gave in 2025, I think it was 2025 or 2024 when the Supreme Court ruled that the attempted
Yeah,
term
yeah.
of Kofa was
2024.
illegal. Yeah.
It was
So
2024.
it was 2024, yeah, just before I think the fire went off at the Capitol building. Yeah. So yeah,
Okay, when he
I
said
think
we
it was
will do
appalling.
business with the majority. When he said that
Exactly. Anyone
after
who has
the
quorum. Yeah. Yeah. He said he's going to, and I actually went and I've got a copy of the Liberian Constitution, and I had to go and read it, like from the top to the end to find a word or the phrase "working with quorum," right? Because even though the word quorum does appear in there is nowhere in the Constitution where it said the president should work with quorum. Right? You should work with the elected speaker. And yes, Kofa fought a good fight. In the end, lawlessness won, which was very appalling. And unfortunately, the thing is, I think people shouldn't be surprised. Siliki, I think I'll end on this. I wasn't surprised because this is the same president who has removed individuals from tenure positions at the LTA, right, on bogus charges of corruption that they're yet to prove. It's the same president that suspended Emma Glasgow from the fisheries, and recently LACC has
Mafia.
said, look, there was no crime committed, right? It's the same president that suspended the former governor of the central bank. Again, he had to pay him off because at the end of the day, they couldn't prove any crime or corruption. And all of these things are done simply to bring his own people in. And this is the same president that helped write all of these tenured laws. All of the authorities that have tenure positions were created under Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. He was her vice president. So now you say something that you endorsed a few years ago now is not right for our country, right? And yeah, so I wasn't entirely surprised that the president made such a shameless and a statement. But unfortunately, it still made me a bit angry, and yeah, I wasn't. I was really enraged by that.
Yeah,
And yes, to
thank
add
you.
to add to your list, Siddiqui, if I may, he also removed Dr. Yan from Enfield, and the Supreme Court just ruined Dr. Yan's favor as well, to the point that Dr. Budi was just making on the tenure position.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. And I was just about to mention that too. I don't know if it's going to pay off or they're going to reinstate it, even though they've already replaced it with something else. But again, to this, legislature stuff. If you look at the legislature, bulk of the people that go for election, majority of them don't return. And so, if we are to compare that versus the way Liberian people vote nationwide, what sort of message for you, you would think that Liberian people are sending? Because when it comes to the lawmakers, they vote most of them out for not performing, but they don't get it right most often with the presidency, and not because they're not voting for the person I support, because obviously somebody may say because they're not voting for Cummings, like what you think. No, because the people they voted for, because just think about it. Early 2024, you go to a pool and voted, you see, they want George Weah, who was the equivalent. And right after inauguration, less than 3 months, these same people started crying to what side they want George Weah back. So you come to think about it, you say it's not normal. But when you look at the way they vote, that lawmakers, they always kick them out when they're not, and again, if you look at the people that we elect, some of the people that dash money on them, and which brought me to the point you raising your article about the political class or the political, I don't know, the elite. That's the word you use, the political elite. Where some of them they get wealth on the masses back and go and dash them some money during election time to get re-elected. But if you look at the decision that
This
Liberian
is
people
Care
always
Radio
take,
95.9. The program you
okay, sorry for that breakthrough. So if you look at the decision the Liberian people make at the electing lawmakers versus the president, what what actually comes to your mind? Voting majority of these people that are not performing and not getting it right with the presidency.
Right. That is an interesting research question, and I'm going to write it down because it might be something worth conducting a sustained research on, because it's a very interesting observation. Uh, One of the things that I'm fascinated about here in the UK when I do research on UK elections is the fact that most of the time that rural communities will vote for someone who's not actually from that community to represent them, and that fascinates me with the UK context. But in terms of the Liberian, look, let's put it this way, right? In 2017, the Liberian people had the choice. They had a very good uh, array of choices, right? So you had Senator Brunkin was still alive at the time. You had Mr. Cummings, who was the newcomer at the time, and like his background meant that a lot of people, some of us included, felt that he would definitely do good as someone who's kind of ran businesses, multinational companies with various functionalities, and to be able to run it the way he did. We felt that he would definitely do a good job. You had the George Weah with the popularity, and then you had the incumbent in terms of the vice president. The Liberian people, I believe, made a wrong choice in 2017 by electing George Weah. I do not believe that there was a lot of progression under his leadership as president. And when we got to 2023, I felt that that was an opportunity for the Liberian people to say, look, we've had 20 years, right, since the end of the war. We've had two parties in leadership, and take stock of what these two parties have been able to achieve. There was nothing impressive right? Come 2023, that the Unity Party and the CBC 12 years and 6 years had done that would have led me as a Liberian to vote for either party. In the unfortunate situation is I'm able as an electorate to analyze situation, to look at the performances of each party and say, well, you've not done enough, let me try someone else. For a lot of Liberians, they don't have that level of thinking and understanding. So like you alluded to, people come in, spread money around, because the notion is when we get elected, as we're seeing now, we're going to recoup that money, right? Whatever we spend during the elections, once we get into office, we'll just take the money back from the Liberian people, which is it's a sorrowful sight. It's a sorrowful thing to see that Liberians will be taking advantage of other Liberians claiming to be political leaders, but that's unfortunately what's happening. And because our system of governance keeps the Liberian people in poverty, anybody that comes and gives them a little bit of money here, they're willing to listen to you, right? And unfortunately, that is the scenario. I have said, and I will continue to say, that come 2029, the Liberian people need to say, you know what? These two parties have had, 20, almost 30 years, it will probably be by then, of running Liberia. And we have not gone forward. Yeah, you might see a little bridge here, you might see a little paved road there, but as a country, we've not, look, ordinary people in Liberia are worse off now than they were in 2003, right? Don't mind LEC that can count on one time. Ordinary people in Liberia are worse off in terms of their social mobility, right? In terms of social mobility, ordinary people in Liberia are worse off. All of the statistics point to that fact, right? So these guys have not done a good job. So if the Liberian people make the same mistake again, then it's on them. Because I'll be honest with you, when President Weah was first elected, I was serial, in 2018 and 2019. I wrote probably one article every month, criticizing the government and calling for this change and that change. And then certain time came, I'm like, my man, they are taking a job writing for that is in Liberian for when whatever George we are leading. Yeah, if you keep voting for individuals like this, there come a time that some of us will lose the ability to advocate for you, because it's like, well, you can't keep making the same mistake and expect me to be wasting my time and advocating for you all the time. And so, no, I hope that 2029 will be different. I definitely hope that 2029 will be different.
Dr. Booty, I think that it's up to Liberians that are listening on the radio now to take their situation into their own hands. Nobody can save them. They have to save themselves. It's about expectation. If you expect, I should have a country that the lights don't go off. I should have a country that I should have a job. I should have a country where I can make enough money to feed my family, to have a home, to go to the doctor. Then you want to do something about that. You want to make a change. But if you are so excited when you see the yellow machine and you think, this is the best thing that has happened, and you start celebrating and you put on yellow, and you still tomorrow don't have a job, you still don't have money in your pocket, then your expectation is very low. And then you think the government is doing good. So I think it's up to the Liberian people now to say enough is enough. I'm going to start going to my neighbors. I'm going to start talking to people and saying, we can't keep doing this, because, as much as you write articles and you're talking to people, it's up to the average Liberian person in their own communities now to take the situation into their own hand and say, this is it. We're done. We can't keep doing this. We're voting for these people. They're making $50 million. They're taking $50 million out of the budget. And the rest of the money is not enough to develop the country. And like you said, they're doing these little projects here and there, but at the end of the day, you still don't have a job. You still don't have good light. You still don't have enough money to feed your family. Some people are still going to bed hungry. So the system has to change. How do you educate voters about the expectations that they need to have for their government, because we come from a different type of system in the democracy in the United States here, where we demand more of our lawmakers. But how do you educate voters and say you need to demand more of your government because they owe you these things?
Well, I think, and I'm glad that you actually mentioned where we live, right? So obviously, you're in the US, I'm in the UK. Politicians, advocates, community leaders have huge responsibilities, right? So here in the UK, for example, November last year, my consultancy, I've got a consultancy company that I run as well. We ran a project because it's not just in the US that anti-black and anti-immigrant sentiments are riding very high, right? So here in the UK, we've got a far right party that's riding very high in the polls, and every day people are telling you that, oh, you should go back to where you come from, and that this. So we basically ran a project that brought global majority communities together to say, look, we have to come together to work together to support each other because of how fragile and difficult the society that we live in is becoming. Individuals, whether we like it or not, like us, have to continue to speak out about these things. But instead of just coming on platforms like these and going on the radio platform like the Front Page or the Investigator, right? We need to be more practical. And I like the fact that Siliki mentioned practical a few times from the start. We have to talk to Liberians directly. You mentioned, for example, the Cummings Girls Brigade, I think it's called. If they're going to go into communities, like you mentioned, and talk directly to people and explain, because a lot of these people do not understand the power of their votes. Most Liberians do not understand. If you speak, I think if we did a survey of most Liberians in Liberia about the power of their vote, they wouldn't even understand that they vote. I think that people are just whoever. No, they don't understand the power of their vote. One of the things that we're blessed with in Liberia so far is that we've not had rigged elections, right? Or there is no evidence yet of elections that have been rigged, right? So at least we hope that when people vote, the votes will count. But we have to educate the common Liberians about the power of the vote. That look, when you're giving this one vote to someone, you need to be able to, that person needs to convince you that, look, I will do better than what you is having done to you now. And this is how I'm going to do it, right? This is how, it's not just, oh, I'll do better. Because anybody can say I'll do better, but how are you going to do what? Again, I go back to what Siliki said about the practicalities of it. Okay, I'm going to do A. So I'm going to, as president, cut the salaries of those at the top, right? And I think Mr. Cummings has mentioned this before. Don't quote me on it because I don't really follow individual Liberian politicians like that. But if you cut 50% from all of the guys at the top, I can almost guarantee that the guys at the bottom can be augmented to $250 each a month, right? Now, that's not a major, but for a police officer that's making 125 or 150 something dollars, if he goes from 150 something to 200, that's an extra $100 in his paycheck, right?
Yeah, I think Mr. Cummings is saying, $300 or $400 a month for civil servants.
So then maybe I heard that from him. Yeah. So we're talking. I'm even bringing it down a little bit, but $300. If you chip it, because look, if you take the waste, I give you an example. So in 2011, I was in Liberia. I was working for a bank, so I'm not going to say the name of the bank, but I was their marketing manager at the time. And in that bank, we had utility costs, right? So as a manager, I was paying my salary. They did this housing allowance and travel allowance thing that they do in Liberia, which I think is a waste of money, right? Because I was living in my own house and I had my own car, so I don't know why I was getting allowance for housing and travel, but I took the money. But the telephone situation, I didn't get scratch cards, right? They didn't give me scratch cards. We had a telephone contract. I think it was commune at the time for everyone in the bank. So if I wanted to ring any of my colleagues in the bank with a contract that allowed me to do that, right? The government can do the same thing. If a private bank can do that, the government of Liberia can do it. When I wanted to go out of town to go and visit customers or go and visit our other branches, we had a utility car. They would put it petrol in the car takes me. So they mark down the mileage from when we leave. They know how many miles it is from office to where we're going and back. And when we come back, the driver has to mark how many miles he did. And that those miles have to correlate to how much petrol was used, right? The General Services Agency should be doing that. That's what the GAC should be doing. The GAC should be making sure that government employees have utility cars to take them to where they want to go, so that you're not giving ministers crash cars. You've got a government car. You won't go to point A, the car take you there. You got your driver. Because crash cars and gas slips alone will save Liberia or the Liberian government millions and millions of dollars that could be invested into agriculture. Look, investing in agriculture, every Liberian president that comes to power talks about agriculture. The United States of America is is the biggest economy in the world, mostly based on agriculture, right? Whenever you see Trump fighting with China and stuff like that, because they want to sell their soybeans to China and they want to get good prices for their farmers from the Rust Belt, and that's why they argue, right? You go to California, you have your wineries there. They depend on agriculture to be able to get those wines made. They've got avocado farming and agriculture. Brazil, one of the biggest economies in the world, is agriculture, right? The European Union invests a lot in agriculture. Here in the UK, milk, cattle, things like meat, poultry, whatever. Liberia can do a lot for young people in terms of creating jobs if they invest the money into the right things. So yes, they need to find a way to cut back on the waste so that at least they can be able to create the opportunities for ordinary Liberians. But the way that's just the practicalities I'm talking about, to say, look, we'll cut gas rate this way, we'll cut salaries this way, we'll increase those at the bottom up. Because if you increase the salary of the guys at the bottom, government will collect more revenue. Why? Because if a police officer gets $250, he ain't going to put some of that money in the bank, he's going to spend it. So the businesses will import more products because now they want making more transactions, right? So the government gets the opportunity to do more taxes. That is the kind of things you want people to be going to explain to the Liberian people so that they say, okay, now you're making sense, because it makes more sense to me that, one, I'm going to get better salaries. Two, I'm going to be able to see my government generate more income. And three, we wouldn't see this high inequality between the guys at the bottom and the guys at the top in terms of how much money they're making. And one final point I want to make, I read something recently about this VAT that they're trying to introduce and take the GST from 13% to 18%. Look, this one, my auntie can call it witchcraft. You're already squeezing the people of everything that they have. And now you want to increase the value added tax from 13% to 18%. When people don't have money, they don't have jobs, you want to add extra value tax on goods and services, which will automatically take the prices of most commodities up, right? So you're not paying people, you're not creating jobs, but you want to increase taxes so you can generate more money to spend on yourself. That's witch, right? That is broad day witchcraft.
And that is so they want to increase the tax, but they don't want to increase the pay for and they're not creating jobs because, like you said, the environment is not available for businesses to come in. They have to pay corruption costs, and then when they go to court, like Saliki had mentioned, when they go to court, and Mr. Cummings mentioned this yesterday, there's no telling what's going to happen because the judge is not going to be looking at the law and the contract, going to be looking at who's going to give me, this or who's going to give me that. And I think there was a politician recently that said that I think that was Americana who said that the courts are corrupt. I think he just said that recently. So there's a lot of things to fix, but I think it starts with the Liberian people first, because they have to be willing to say these things need to be fixed, and we need somebody who can really fix them. And that's the question. In 2029, are the Liberian people fed up enough to make those type of changes, or are they going to keep looking at things like the yellow machine and celebrating these things as if they're going to change. It's going to change their lives. I mean, they actually put on yellow outfits. I saw one lawmaker, he had yellow socks. No, so I mean,
half of the executive have yellow on, not just one lawmaker.
so I mean, they were celebrating these construction trucks as if they were going to actually change the lives of the Liberian people, and they're not. So I think we can, Anthony, what do you think? We should take some calls that will give Dr. Booty time for him to answer the questions.
Yeah, let's give Dr. Booty some break and then hear from the audience and what are their perspective, what are they hearing, what are concerns that they have. Jefferson, if you don't mind, if you can open up the lines, let hear from our audience and see and get the show interactive with them as well. We want to get that perspective.
All right, folks in Radio Land, this is Lib Future TV here on Kia Radio 95.9. To be a part of the show tonight, you can call 0777-959-959, 0777-959-959, 0881-871-670, 0881-871-670, plus 231-677-959-959, plus 231-777-959-959. Again, the numbers are 0777-959-959, 0777-959-959, 0881-871-670, 0881-871-670, plus 231-777-959-959. Good evening, welcome.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you to the studio guys. I'm Joseph. My name is Joseph. I'm more speaking from Logantown.
Let's hear you.
Okay. Say again, when when you eat the sugar, you not even want to do when you eat because how you eat on that you eat green. So this kind of time, I mean the two parties will tie with them. Unity Party or TDC will tie with them. So this time of time, we want to change that now. We want the AMC. And for me, we want the AMC. Number one. Number two, we suffering in the country here. Guess what? And for me, they play our air. They sit down around Douala area there. They just walk out, government go, they break the whole hall down. And they play our winter. I've stayed now for 5 years. They play the whole hall down. So I change my location now. I'm in looking down as we speak. And the woman, our food, because the whole year everything we get paid this time now. The woman charged me $30. Our food to pay $200. I move in our February 23rd. They go February 23rd in our. So we are suffering in the country here. A balancing 160. The woman say any on the month. At time pay or balance 160 and working to Fuani as security man. I pay $100. I would $100 there that $97 you give me and get my 3 kids with my woman. So I begging still there. For having $100 any on the month. I'll pay the balance $60 begging there. I'll better than I give you. We have with $100 any on the month.
Thank you.
March 20, I don't pay the woman money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
0777-959-959, 0777-959-959, 0881-871-670, plus 231-777-959-959. Those are the numbers you can use to be a part of the show tonight. What do you make of the discussion tonight? The studio guest is Dr. Fidel Booty. Fidel City Booty is the studio guest, and we're having a discussion. As a matter of fact, he's been elaborating on the legislature, reforming the legislature. What do you make of this tonight? Good evening, welcome.
Yes, good evening. How are you?
We're good. Your name and where you call from?
Evangeline Pastor, I call from Provi.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I will not talk much because probably I may have any problem. But what the people what you people are saying there, the studio guests, is so true. Yeah, that if you empower the person, if you empower a person, you continue to give the person bread. You say, help the person to fish, not for you to give the person fish. Okay? As for what I am a teacher, imagine there are some people 4 months they are not getting their pay. There are some people 5 months. Imagine.
Are you teaching a government school? Are you teaching a public school?
Yes. I went for my salary today. Can you imagine? There's next place of carrying people's salary to bank. It's really killing people. It's killing us. Seriously. I mean, I never had anything but someone by the grace of God sent to town today, or else I would have paid more transportation and come back empty. Can you imagine? I went to finance. They said, "Oh, your pay has gone to UBA." I left on, but I would tell the woman to send it. He went now and told the woman to send the money. He said, the woman said, "Oh, they send the money already. 3 days where I take pay." Okay, I went to Accident Headquarters. I went there almost the hour that I stayed there. Only to say my money was in there. So I plan to go there after tomorrow to ministry. What are they making up? Can you imagine the place I live? I pay $150 to go to and come back. $150. That's $300. So we are not
Jefferson,
doing anything. Can you imagine?
Ask her, does she think she deserves that, and is she ready for change?
I mean, what will become of our family? Come back home just like that. The government, I mean, they are telling us. They are telling us, but it's just by the grace of God that we are making it. So let them try to do something. So
the question is, do you deserve what are you going through, or you need to change?
I don't deserve it, seriously. That excess amount that the people, I mean, the lawmakers are taking as pay. Then they are getting gas slips. Can you imagine we walk sometimes, even before getting motorbike. But before I reach on campus, see how late I will be. Yeah, it's very bad. It's keeping us. But by the grace of God, we have seen enough. I mean, we are seeing enough also. Okay. So it gave us, that you know already now. We know it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome.
Oh, yeah. Good evening.
You're live. Your name and where you call from?
I'm A. Mohammed T. Famula, calling me from Lagos City, Grand Kidman County.
Welcome, Famula.
I just want to say something shortly to the Liberians. I think there's a time that we need to give Mr. Kumi a chance. Because from the time we've been experiencing presidency candidates in Liberia, it took a presidency candidate who are doing shots equal to Mr. Kumi. So for me, I just want to say something short there. Let us give Mr. Kumi a chance come Sunday 29.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
You're live. Your name and where you call from?
Well, this is Mohammed Tonza from Junior.
Mohammed, can you please be audible a little bit?
Okay. I come in.
Yeah, go ahead now. You okay? Go ahead.
Well, you getting me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, this is Mohammed Tonza from Junior. Well, I joined a conversation from the Japan freeway to meet Pacific Aluminum Factory. Well, sometimes in this country, we the Liberians, we all make mistakes. I studied the Liberian people from 1997 election. The Liberian people made a mistake, and then they allowed, a dictator, president, which was President Taylor. And then, sometime, after the war, I accepted the result that came from the 2005 election. So we needed a little president to cool down the tension in this country. And then...
Hello? Oh, it went off. 0777 959 959 0777 959 959 0881 871 670 0881 871 670 plus 231 777 959 959. Those are the numbers you can use to be a part of the show tonight, Lib Future TV. We have as guest on the show tonight, Dr. Fidel C.T. Bude, discussing the legislature. How can it be reformed? You know, all of those things. What are your contributions? What do you make of this? Also, creating job for Liberians being spectators in their own economy, all of these things. What are your thoughts? What are your contributions tonight on 0777 959 959 081 871 670 plus 231 777 959 959. Okay, let's get. Okay, this person went off. Let me catch you from this end as well. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Hello. Hello. Okay. Let me get this overseas number here. Yes, good evening.
Hello.
Hello, you live.
Yeah. This morning you're calling from. Can you hear me?
You're live. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this morning you're calling from just outside of Las Vegas. Look, our problem is generational. I don't know if any one president can come and erase it. First thing is that if you have a country where 90% of your economy is being run by foreigners, you can't put that on a president alone. Okay, you just can't. You can't do that. It's the people themselves. Because what our president came from, he came from among the Liberian people.
Yes.
So is that mindset we have? That say, for instance, businesses in Liberia are supposed to be run by foreigners, and then we will, we'll be spectators. We'll watch them. We'll go to them. We are consumer people will buy from them, but we don't think how did those people get those businesses? And even when the opportunity comes to us, we don't want to take it. I mean, take for instance, Oranto Petroleum. Mm-hmm. I think in 2012, the Nigerian man came and he put in a bid, and that bid, I remember the Ellen Sirleaf government asking Liberians, the late Willis Knuckles, Liberians, don't let this pass by you. It's your own resource. Participate in it. That man came from Nigeria. He went and bribed the legislators. And guess how much he made? To cut a long story short, how much he made from that transaction? He made about $200 million. How much he bribed the Liberian legislator with? $100,000. So, I mean, it's, we got to do the root cause analysis. I thought Mr. Cummings would, he's in terms of supporting the president, he's the guy that I will give my support to. But it's a long ladder to go up to. It's a society that I don't know, man. I mean, even if you give them the opportunity and you show them, say, okay, this is how you do it, they will find some sort of excuse not to do it, because it's just part of our DNA. That's how Liberians been programmed from the days of Totma till now, and we still haven't gotten out of that stupor. All I got to say.
Okay, thank you so much. 0777 959 959. We'll take a few more calls. 0777 959 959 081 871. Good evening, welcome.
Hello.
You live. Your name and where you join us from?
But I'm my own station, so I come from today. I'm my sister.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, go ahead. Let's hear you. What's your name and where you call from?
Oh, my name is Junior Ko. I'm calling from.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, like we don't want water to live for. My own people they say I don't know. What was 117th Street? What they handle? What are the name of it? I handle. We are standing a big one.
Well,
I don't know. They hear me. I want water today. I carry people water today. No, I think.
Okay. All right. Okay. With course, let's go back to Dr. Bude. Yeah, Sidiki, we're back to you. People up there.
Hello.
Yeah.
I don't know if Miss
Are the
Catherine is
calls
hearing me.
finished?
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Booty, you heard some of the calls from Julius from Logantown and teacher. We want to address some of the callers.
No, yeah, I think it is a shame that Liberians, again, like I said previously, 20 some years of Unity Party and CDC leadership in Liberia. Liberians are worse off now than they were. Because the thing is, yes, people would argue that, oh well, maybe they're getting paid a little bit more, but the cost of living is way more higher than it was back then. So the value of the money that they're getting is way less than what it was back then. So you can't just look at how much more money people are making. And I think the interesting thing for me was the caller who talked about this being a systemic problem. It is a systemic problem, but it can be fixed, right? There is no problem under the sun that is not fixable, right? So we can't, again, and I don't disagree with most of the things he said. Liberians are spectators in their own economy. Um, Politicians have contributed to that because, again, I was on the show on Sunday, and I was talking to a friend of mine. Sorry, I was talking to one of the panelists and saying, look, I registered my consultancy company here in the UK on the 1st of November 2022, and on the 2nd, I got my certificate of registration. Within a few days, I went to the bank and submitted that online. I didn't even need to go in personally. I just give them the registration number. They could find that, yeah, this is a registered company. And then boom, within a week, my bank account for the company is set up, right? So within a week, I was able to register my company, register a bank account, and ready to start rolling. If you go to Liberia now and try to start a business as a Liberian, whether you're a local Liberian or from the diaspora, first of all, the red tapes is so many, right? And those are the things that the lawmakers should be working to relieve the Liberian people of. If you want Liberians to not be spectators in their own economy, you have to make it easier for them to start businesses, right? You can't make so many like, for example, when you register, even when you get to finally register the business, you have to go to the LRA and pay tax, right? Now, my business here in the UK, I don't pay tax until I make a profit, right? You don't pay tax. You pay tax on income, profit. You pay tax on profit. But the company hasn't even started operating. And in Liberia, you have to have a flag receipt from LRA to say, so they basically look at you and say, okay, yeah, this business we think will generate 100,000 this year, so we'll charge you 20,000 in taxes in case the business doesn't operate and make 100,000. So you've already paid 20,000 in taxes, and then now you have to go and try and make 100,000 so that you can meet the threshold. And then you have to take that receipt before you even get to open a bank account, right? So those are things that a functioning legislature will be looking at and say, okay, look, how do we make laws to make it easier for Liberians to get access to funding, to get access to be able to create and establish a business? How do we make it less cumbersome for Fidel who wants to start, and this is just a hypothetical I'm trying to start, but if Fidel wants to start a construction company in Liberia, he needs to get X amount of machines in the country to be able to do that, right? It has to come through the free port of Monrovia. Fidel send these things there, and it takes him like 2 months to get it out. And he has to bribe Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C, Mr. D. And by the time he's bribed all of these people, the cost of shipping the thing to Liberia and getting it out of the port takes away 20% of his capital. How is Fidel supposed to not be a spectator? Because it's way difficult for him to open business in his country of birth, the country that he wants to return to at some point, than it is to do it in the US or do it here or even in Kenya, where I've got friends who own businesses, right? So at the end of the day, the legislature, and that's why I keep going back to them, because they're supposed to be the ones making the laws to remove these red tapes. They're supposed to be focusing on what is it that the Liberian people need. How do we create jobs for young people? You need private sector businesses to open. Let's make it easy for these businesses to come into the country and operate so that they can create the jobs. Once you let the person come in, it's easy to get operational, they will create opportunities, and then the young people don't have to wait for government jobs, and then they don't have to come to you as a representative to beg you for money, and then you can reduce your salary, right? If you just do your job as you should, we don't have most of the problems that we have. And because they're unwilling to do it, because again, and Siliki alluded to this, most of them have this mindset, because I've spoken to lawmakers in Liberia before, and they have this mindset of, oh, I only got 6 years, so I'll get as much as I can because I know I'm not going to get reelected. So clearly, the mindset that they're even coming in with is that, look, I'm not going to go and work for my people who elected me. I gave them money to buy their votes. So I'm going to go and recoup that money because those same people will not vote for me in 6 years' time. So, hey, I'm not going to do anything. And I believe that if we get the legislature, again, there's a lot of practical aspects of this that we need to work on. But if we can get it to a place where we remove all of this money out of it, where people are going in for service, I believe it becomes more effective. I believe it focus more on doing what's right for ordinary Liberians, including allowing companies to come in and create jobs, like Mr. Cummings mentioned yesterday, and then the system starts to work better for Liberian
Right. People. It's hard for one lawmaker to stand up against all that's happening, because look at what happened with the majority and the minority fight. They had a few lawmakers that stood together and said this was wrong. Then they went to court. They won the case at court, where the justices said return to status quo, or status quo ante, right? And then the Minister of Justice reinterpreted the Supreme Court decision, handed it to the Senate, and then the Senate started to function with the quote unquote majority block. So it was hard for these few lawmakers to say, I'm standing up for the rule of law, because the executive has so much power in Liberia. And even if you are a lawmaker and you want to see the right thing done, you want to do the right thing, it's almost impossible, because all of the executive is allowing the corruption to happen. And so I think, and I want to know if you agree, that we have to start from the presidency, changing the presidency, who will say no corruption, we're going to stop corruption, we're going to cut these salaries, and we're going to reform the judiciary. We're going to make these reforms, and it will be easier then for lawmakers to do the right thing, because they at least have a leader in place who is on the same line with them. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense, yeah. And I can agree with part of it. I think the presidency has a huge role to play. I also believe that, and I think Siliti mentioned this earlier, I think an authoritative president, a president that has the authority to propose changes to the way that we function as a government, as a governing system, it will be needed to get people to, and that's why I think Liberians have wasted their votes in 2023 on a Joseph Boakai, right? Because I don't believe he has what it takes to the Liberians were told that, oh, this was an old race car parked in a garage for 12 years, right? And Liberian people were stupid enough to go take rusty car and put on the road. Now the car can run. They say, oh, why the car ain't running? Right? You don't want to put a rusty car on the road. Rusty car ain't sort of be on road. You want cars that actually can run on the road, which is why you should not have wasted your vote on Joseph Boakai, because he doesn't have the stamina. He doesn't have the authority to say to the people around him, no. This is not how things are going to be done. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to cut back. I give you an example. And obviously, this is something I've heard on many platforms, so I'm quoting others. But a commissioner of the Liberia Telecommunication Authority gets paid $3,500 a month for their generators at their house, right? Let me just put it in context. I have been working from home since 2020, so I work from my house. I don't go into an office space, and I don't get paid for work using my electricity. I use my own electricity to work. I use my own water when I want to use the bathroom. I use it to make tea or coffee, whatever. They don't pay me for that, right? I chose a home-based job, right? So I want to work from home, and that's perks, right? Because I don't have to travel to office. I save money, blah 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 blah. A guy who goes into the office to work, right? He goes to the office. We pay for the office to run. So there's electricity in the office, there's everything in the office, so he can go in to work, but we're paying for the electricity as his house when he's not working from home.
What?
Right? And this president,
Are you serious?
I heard, that's what I've heard, and a lot of people, prominent individuals, have said it to me. I can see Jefferson shaking his head in agreement, right?
Jefferson, you heard that too, that he gets paid.
So it is one of the commissioners there, specifically Patrick Horner.
They get paid for their generator at home
at his house, right? At his house. No, but that's the point I'm trying to make. This is a staunch supporter of the president. Hence, he's allowed to do that.
Dr. Puri, this is something that they were against during the CDC regime. In fact, according to them, that they met the system there, it was there. So why now that they can change it, since they were against it and they met it there, but they're still using it?
Exactly, because they're benefiting from it now. And the point is, if this president had the authority, right? If he had the command of his people, he could say to them, look, I give you an example. The president of Ghana, John Mahama, I think his first name is John. President Mahama, I'll just call it. He came in, and after about 5 or 6 months, he scrapped all these extra travels out of the country, all the gas slip, all this crash card nonsense. Boom, no longer, right? That's what you call an authoritative president. His legislature is there, but he's telling them that, look, this is what I expect. I'm going to cut the waste out of government so that we can benefit the people. Now, everybody's not going to get benefit. Everybody's not going to benefit from it, but at least you can see the direction in which he's going. He's clearly trying to do something, and that is what I believe an authoritative president will come in and say, look, if you want to work in my government, you have to understand that you're sacrificing for your people. If you're not able to sacrifice for your people, don't come to me to work, right? Because I need people who are willing to sacrifice. Come forward, say, look, I'm willing to sacrifice. Even if they pay you 3, 4, 5,000, I don't know what would be acceptable, but they pay you less than the 7,800. Scratch all these, there's so much waste in government. This, the one that can really concern me is the scratch cards and the gas slips. Most of these guys use these things for extracurricular activities.
I go back to, I read an article in the New York Times by Helene Cooper, who said that Liberians will sell their vote for a T-shirt and a bag of rice or a cup of rice. And so I go back to the Liberian people and say, if you're willing to sell your vote for a bag of rice and a T-shirt, what kind of leaders are you going to end up with?
But if the person doesn't understand the value, like I mentioned earlier, of their vote, right? Because most Liberians do not understand the value of their vote. They do not understand that that vote is the difference between earning $300 a month minimum for most public servants and continuing in what we are. They don't understand that, right? And I think, and I'll say this as well, and I've said it, I'm sure Anthony knows, because we've been on platforms together. I think, if you look at Mr. Cummings, for example, I think they've missed the boat, right? They have had an opportunity to communicate to the Liberian people, and they've not communicated well or well enough to educate the Liberian people on the value of their vote.
That's fair. I mean, it has to be.
Right? On the difference that can be made, right? Because again, if you go, Who was I talking to yesterday? I was talking to, it was on Sunday. I was talking to a colleague on this platform. Liberians are not stupid, right? Even the uneducated Liberians, they're not stupid. Our people are not stupid. They're ill-informed, right? There's a difference between being uninformed and being stupid. There are people who have information and don't know what to do with it. Those are the ones you call stupid. But most Liberians don't have the right information. Political operatives in Liberia who want to see this CDC Unity Party hegemony ended, right? This waste of 20, however many years that we've had, right? Anyone, whether you be an advocate like myself, whether you be a political commentator like myself, whether you be a politician in Liberia, you need to educate the Liberian people on the power of their vote. That look, this vote is the thing that can make ministers not earn the kind of money they earn. This is the thing that will make you stop going to beg for someone to give you money, or someone tell you, oh no, I need to make 10,000, but you can't beg me. So let's take some of that 10,000 away and put it in your pay packet so that you don't have to go and beg them. Your vote is the thing that can change that. But most Liberians do not understand that.
But
And
Dr.
we need to
Booty,
educate. That's the practical aspect that Siliki mentioned. As individual Liberians, when you go to Liberia, when I go to Liberia, when I'm in my community with my boys and my friends, it is up to me to say, look, guys, next time you need to listen to people who are saying what can be done practically. You can't vote for these same two parties because they've done it already for 20-something years and it's not working, right? You can't do the same thing over and over and expect, and we on this side who cost of living going up, so we can't just be sending you to there all the time. So you got to do something so that you start making your own money, right?
Right.
And we have to be very practical about it.
But Dr. Booty, last, and Saliki, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Cummings was the only candidate to go to all the counties. He went everywhere. So he traveled all throughout Liberia to spread the message. But for whatever reason, Liberians didn't vote for their interests. They voted for popularity, or they voted for, I don't know what they were voting for. When I looked at the candidates, I said, "Oh, Mr. Cummings is the best candidate. He has all the relationships around the world. He will be within 90 days. People will get jobs in this country." But I don't know what Liberians were looking at when they were deciding between. They didn't even have a presidential debate. The debates went on. The candidates didn't even show up to the debates. I think Tawan Glanglo went to the debate, and some others, but not the top candidates. So I don't know what Liberians are basing their vote on, but it's not their own interest. They're not voting for what's best for themselves. They're voting. I don't know what they're voting for.
So let me just turn it around slightly, right? So one of my favorite cousins, she's based in the U.S. And she was very annoyed at the fact that Kamala Harris lost the election. And I tried to communicate to her and say, look, and this is not bragging or anything like that, but I'm very educated, right, as an individual, academic. I've gone through the academic education and I've got a good understanding of how to discern when people speak, oh, this is what the person means. And I was struggling to understand what her message was, right? Now, you live in the US. The majority of Americans are not very smart, right? So if someone who can understand is struggling to get your message, what do you think the rest of the Americans will get? They didn't understand. Kamala Harris had good policies, but the communication of those policies, it wasn't good enough. I believe, and this is my observation, it's my opinion, that that's the same problem that Mr. Cummings has or has had in the last two elections. He has the policies, he has the visibility, he's going to places, he's speaking to people, but the messaging is not getting across, right? The people are not understanding whatever it is that he's selling. And until he can get his message across to the Liberian people, he cannot be the force that he should be, right? And this is, they say something, like I'm a football fan. They say third time lucky, right? So we hope third time will be lucky, but he has to have a better ground game. His communication has to be top notch because communicating with Liberian people is a completely different course, right? That's something completely different to communicate It's even community groups that we have here in the UK that some of us have been leaders of to communicate to our people, even the educated ones. It's hard, very, very difficult. And you need to understand how to get through to them. I don't believe he has, because if he had, he would have been doing way better, right? I think he needs a better strategy. I'm offering free political strategies now. But he needs a better strategy. His strategy has to be incremental, right? He has to go for a 2-round game. You can't be going for a 1-round knockout, right? It doesn't work in Liberian politics. Nobody has won 1 round since Charles Taylor, right? So you have to go for a 2-round game. Your first option has to be getting into round 2. That's what. I just want to be number 2 on the ballot. Once you get there, now then you start playing small politics, right? But I'm sure his political advisors are listening, and yeah, they should give him better advice. But he needs a better communication game, and he needs to be very political strategically in terms of how he does it.
Saliki, do you want to ask Dr. Booty any questions before he does his closing?
Yeah, one last question could be, and this is something that I think almost all most Liberians, or rather, have suggested over the time to allow these lawmakers to reduce their salary. But whenever that conversation spark up, you see most of them making excuse that uh, the constituents always coming to them for assistance, and all of that. So my question to you, Dada Body, do you think it's realistic based on for them, because they already set that standard? Like, the people have to come to them for school fees, the people have to come to them for everything, back of rice, medical bills, rent, and so forth. So they've already set up that standard, and it's kind of normal in a different districts across the country. So if some of these people go to them to ask for school fees, if they can't afford it, they can assist these people. Some of them go against them. Actually, let's be fair. Some lawmakers, they were voted out because they were not actually giving assistance to their constituents. And somebody will come. I've seen a lawmaker taking credit in the U.S. John Osusu take the money, I think District 12, something like that, and come waste the money in the district win. Then the person that you took a loan for, after you won, the person started causing up behind him publicly on the internet. That why is my money you took to go win the election? You see? So what is your perspective about that? That when you reduce our salary, the constituent will not be able to afford to give to these people. What can they do to at least stop that?
But there are a few things that we've mentioned already. One, they need to do their job, because we're paying them 10,000 a month to do that job. So they need to allow companies to come into the country without seeking bribes from them, right? Let companies come in to create jobs, so their constituents can get jobs, and that way they wouldn't come and beg them. What they also need to do is reform business registration laws in Liberia to make it easier for Liberians, right, to start businesses in Liberia. They need to reform the agreement with the port, so that, again, those of us in the diaspora that are interested in doing business, it's easier for us to do business, because when you do business in Liberia, you have to employ people. And the more of us that are doing business there, the more people we can employ. That would be the practical start. Let them just do their jobs of creating jobs and laws that make it easier for companies to create jobs, make it easier for Liberians to create companies, make it easier for us to bring things into the country. We would then start creating opportunities for their constituents to work, and then fewer constituents will start coming to them. And that excuse of, oh, constituents being offered money can then go away. And then let's see whether they will be noble enough to reduce the salary on their own. I don't believe they will, which is why I'm proposing setting up an independent authority to set salaries for and again, this can be expanded to ministers of government as well, and judges, right? All senior government officials can have their salaries set by this independent authority. So it's not just the legislature, it can be the executive in terms of the high level guys, and the judiciary in terms of judges, right? That all of them can have their salaries set by someone outside of government, an independent authority outside of the Liberian government.
Now, thank you, Dr. Booty. This was an excellent interview. Thank you, Saliki. Thank you, Jefferson. And Dr. Booty, we hope to have you back on the show.
Oh no, it'll be an honor. I had a good time. Thank you so much, Sleepy. Very good questions, Catherine as well, and Jefferson for fact checking some of the information I was providing out there. Thank you so much. Thank for that. I'm live to the Liberian people, so that's good.
Great interview. Thank you. By the way.
Take me back to Liberia, where the drums still play my song. Take me back to my homeland. It's the place where I belong.
Lib Future TV, giving voice to progressive Liberians, speaking about politics, entertainment, and local news.